Have you ever noticed that the most powerful people you know rarely post anything on social media, while everyone else is obsessively documenting their breakfast, their workouts, their every mundane thought? There's a certain type of man who remains completely invisible online. And if you're watching this video right now, there's a good chance you're one of them. Or you're trying to understand why you feel this inexplicable pull to stay silent while the world screams for attention. This isn't just about being private. This is about something far deeper, something that will genuinely unsettle you once you understand it. Because the absence of someone on social media isn't a void, it's a statement. It's a power move that most people will never comprehend. And the psychology behind it? It reveals truths about modern masculinity, control, and influence that society desperately tries to hide from you. I'm about to show you why. The men who never post are the ones everyone is actually watching. Why silence in the digital age has become the ultimate form of dominance, and why this behavioral pattern might be the most misunderstood aspect of Sigma male psychology. But before we dive deep into this psychological rabbit hole, if you're serious about understanding the Sigma mindset and breaking free from societal programming, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to give you the unfiltered truth that mainstream psychology won't touch. The algorithms try to suppress this content, so subscribing ensures you don't miss the insights that could completely shift your perspective on power, masculinity, and social dynamics. Now let's talk about what your absence from social media really means. 1. The invisible power dynamic. Let me tell you something that will fundamentally change how you view social influence. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. In fact, they're usually compensating for something they lack. And nowhere is this more evident than on social media, where millions of people are trapped in an exhausting performance, desperately seeking validation from strangers who don't even know their real name. But then there's you, the man who scrolls through feeds without ever posting. The one who watches the circus without joining it. The observer who understands something crucial. True power doesn't announce itself. This is what I call the invisible power dynamic, and it's the foundational principle of why Sigma males avoid social media. It's not about being antisocial or technologically inept. It's about understanding a psychological truth that most people are completely blind to. Think about this for a moment. When someone constantly posts on social media, what are they really doing? They're seeking external validation. They're asking, do you see me? Do you approve of me? Am I enough? Every photo, every status update, every carefully crafted caption is essentially a plea for recognition. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The more someone posts, the more they reveal their need for approval. It's a digital desperation that disguises itself as confidence. Now contrast that with the man who never posts. What does his silence communicate? Indifference to public opinion, self-sufficiency. A life so fulfilling that it doesn't require an audience. His absence from the digital stage doesn't make him invisible. It makes him intriguing. People wonder about him. They create narratives about him. They project power onto him simply because he refuses to explain himself. This is the paradox of visibility. The more you show, the less mysterious you become. The more you explain, the less interesting you are. The more you seek attention, the less valuable your attention becomes to others. I've studied hundreds of high-status individuals across different fields, and there's a consistent pattern. The ones at the top rarely engage in social media performance. Sure, they might have accounts managed by teams, posting occasional professional updates, but personal, attention-seeking content, almost never. Why? Because they understand that their time, their energy, and their mystique are assets too valuable to waste on digital validation games. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two men in the same professional field. The first one posts daily. His morning routine, his gym sessions, his business meetings, his motivational quotes, his achievements, his struggles, his opinions on everything. The second man has an account but hasn't posted in months, maybe years. He's simply absent from the digital conversation. Now, when these two men enter a room, who commands more intrigue? Who do people actually want to talk to? The first man is already known, or at least people think they know him. They've consumed his content, formed opinions, and mentally filed him away. There's no mystery left to uncover. But the second man, he's an enigma. People are curious. They want to know what he's about, what he does, what he thinks. His silence has created a vacuum that draws people in. This is the invisible power dynamic at work. By refusing to participate in the attention economy, you've actually increased your value within it. You've become the rare commodity in a marketplace flooded with desperate sellers. But here's where it gets even deeper. Social media operates on a psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. People post, and sometimes they get likes and validation, sometimes they don't. This unpredictability keeps them hooked, constantly checking, constantly posting, constantly seeking that next dopamine hit. They become slaves to the algorithm, modifying their behavior to chase engagement metrics. The Sigma male who never posts has freed himself from this psychological trap. He's not checking his phone every 5 minutes to see who liked his post. He's not crafting his life experiences around what will look good online. He's not filtering his thoughts through the question, how will this be received? He's operating with complete cognitive freedom, and that freedom translates into real-world power. Because here's the thing about power. It's not about how many people see you. It's about how effectively you can execute your vision without needing permission, validation, or approval from anyone. The man who posts constantly is essentially crowdsourcing his self-worth. The man who never posts has internalized his value to the point where external metrics are irrelevant. This creates what I call the gravity effect. Just as massive objects in space create gravitational fields that attract other objects without any effort, the Sigma male who maintains strategic invisibility creates a psychological gravitational field. People are drawn to what they cannot fully understand or access. Your absence becomes more compelling than others' presence. And the truly scary part, most people will never understand this. They'll interpret your silence as weakness, as isolation, as missing out. They'll pity you for not having hundreds of followers validating your existence. They'll think you're afraid or incapable. Let them. Because while they're busy performing for an audience, you're busy building an empire. While they're seeking validation, you're creating value. While they're documenting their lives, you're actually living yours. The invisible power dynamic isn't about hiding. It's about operating from a position of such genuine self-assurance that you simply don't need the world watching to know you're winning. 2. Strategic solitude in the digital age. There's a war for your attention, and most men don't realize they're losing. Every app, every notification is engineered to keep you engaged, distracted, and dependent. Strategic solitude, choosing to remain absent from this digital warfare, isn't retreat. It's the smartest tactical move you can make. When you refuse to post on social media, you're rejecting a system designed to commodify your existence. You're refusing to play a rigged game. Think about the average person's relationship with social media. They wake up checking their feed. They experience something meaningful and think, I should post this. They photograph their food more than they taste it. Their reality is filtered through, is this postable? This is the performance trap. When you're constantly performing, you stop living authentically. Your decisions are based on generating engagement, not serving yourself. You become an actor in your own life. The Sigma who practices strategic solitude has seen through this. His experiences don't need validation to be valuable. They're more valuable because they remain private. Real example, a man built a multi-million-dollar business in complete silence. No posts, no personal brand. 7 years invisible. When he emerged, people were shocked. But that silence gave him complete focus. While competitors managed online personas, he solved problems. While they built audiences, he built assets. He won. This is strategic solitude's power, being selective with energy, strategic with visibility. In an attention economy, focused mental capacity is the scarcest resource. Every minute on social media is stolen from building what matters. Social media creates continuous partial attention. You're never fully present. At dinner, but mentally composing posts. Working, but distracted by notifications. Your brain never enters deep focus. You become reactive, scattered, superficial. The strategically solitary man has reclaimed cognitive sovereignty. His mind isn't fractured across platforms. He's integrated, whole, capable of deep thinking that produces exceptional results. And here's the paradox. Strategic solitude amplifies influence. Because you're rarely visible, when you appear, people pay attention. Your words carry weight. Your presence is impactful. Scarcity increases value. Think about truly influential people. How often do they post? Rarely. They understand influence is built through competence and results, not constant visibility. Social media is a substitute for real value, not a shortcut. There's also operational security. While everyone broadcasts their location, activities, plans, the silent man maintains security. He's not advertising vulnerabilities or revealing strategies. Every post is intelligence that can be used against you. But perhaps most profound, strategic solitude forces people to actually know you. They can't scroll your profile, they must engage directly. This filters relationships powerfully. The people who show up value you enough to put in effort. You build deep relationships based on authentic interaction, not shallow connections based on curated images. Strategic solitude is ultimately about sovereignty, owning your attention, time, and life in a way most have surrendered, being truly free in an era of voluntary surveillance. That freedom is the foundation of everything else. 3. The psychology of social media silence. Social media platforms are dopamine slot machines engineered by neuroscientists. Every like, comment, notification triggers the same reward circuit as drugs, but not everyone falls for it. The Sigma male has natural immunity, and it comes down to one psychological difference: locus of control. Most people have an external locus of control. Their self-worth depends on outside validation. They need others to confirm they're valuable. Social media feeds this perfectly. Post, get likes, feel good. Post, get ignored, feel terrible. The addiction begins. Sigma males have an internal locus of control. They determine their own worth. They don't need strangers' approval. This makes social media pointless. If you don't need validation, why post? If your self-esteem isn't tied to engagement metrics, why play? This is why silence is effortless for the Sigma while agonizing for others. He's not fighting urges. He never had them. Social media's entire premise is incompatible with his psychology. There's another layer. Sigma personalities seek depth over breadth in relationships. They don't want thousands of shallow connections. They want a few deep bonds where real understanding exists. Social media offers the opposite: unlimited breadth with zero depth, 10,000 followers and profound loneliness. This isn't just unappealing to depth-seeking men, it's psychologically repulsive. Now, impression management. Social media has turned this into a full-time job, constantly curating, editing, filtering yourself. This creates dissociation between your real self and presented self. The Sigma avoids this burden entirely. He doesn't maintain an online persona. He's the same person everywhere, integrated, authentic, free from split identity. But here's critical. Some men avoid social media from strength, others from fear. The insecure man hides from judgment. The Sigma chooses absence because he doesn't need what it offers. One runs away, the other runs towards something better. How do you know which you are? If successful posts would make you start posting, you're avoiding from fear. If success doesn't change your disinterest, you're operating from genuine independence. The Sigma is typically a low self-monitor, consistent regardless of who's watching. This makes performing feel fundamentally dishonest. He can't present a curated version because he doesn't have one. Just him, authentic and indifferent to whether that's popular. Finally, the psychology of mystery. Humans are curious about what they don't know. When someone's entire life is documented, there's nothing to discover. But silence intensifies curiosity. The Sigma becomes intriguing by default. People project onto him. They create narratives. And those projections tend to be generous. Mystery creates idealization. Silence creates mystique. This is social media silence psychology, not avoidance but optimization, not weakness but sovereignty. 4. What absence reveals about presence. Your silence is a statement. Your invisibility is visible. Your refusal to participate is itself powerful participation. When you're absent from social media, you're not invisible. You're selectively visible in ways that matter infinitely more. You're present in real conversations, actual rooms, making eye contact. Your presence hasn't been diluted digitally, so it becomes concentrated and impactful. Think about someone always posting versus someone who never does. When you see that silent person in real life, there's something different, a weight, a significance. Their presence hasn't been devalued by constant digital availability. Real presence requires absence elsewhere. You cannot be deeply present anywhere if you're shallowly present everywhere. The always online man is never fully anywhere, a ghost spread thin, never materializing with full substance. But here's the power. Your absence forces others to be present too. They can't check your profile. They must ask you. They must engage. They must actually know you through direct experience rather than passively consuming content. A friend quit social media 5 years ago. Initially, people worried they'd lose touch. But something fascinating happened. People who actually valued him made the effort to call, text, meet up. Relationships that survived were revealed as real relationships. Everyone else was digital clutter, and those real relationships became stronger, conversations richer, time together more valuable. His absence elevated his presence in lives that mattered. This is absence's filtering mechanism. When you're not constantly visible, you discover who actually cares, who's willing to engage beyond a like. People who complain most about your absence usually contribute least to your actual life. They want access without effort. But people who matter, they respect your absence. They recognize you're prioritizing real over virtual, depth over breadth, substance over appearance. Your absence reveals priorities. By not spending time on social media, you're saying, I have better uses for my attention. My experiences don't need validation. My time is too valuable to trade for likes. This communicates confidence in ways successful posts never could. People sense the difference between desperately seeking approval and operating from self-assurance. There's also a temporal dimension. Social media creates eternal present. Everyone's always on. But real presence exists in actual time. Moments that begin and end. Experiences with weight because they're temporary. When you're absent from social media, you're present in time, experiencing moments as they unfold, not through presentation lens. At concerts, absorbing deeply instead of filming. In conversations, fully engaged instead of thinking about posts later. Your absence from life's performance allows you to actually live. And that depth of engagement is visible to others. There's something different about truly present people, a groundedness, an authenticity that can't be faked. The Sigma understands this paradox. You can only be fully somewhere by not being everywhere. You can only be deeply connected by not being constantly connected. By refusing digital availability, he makes actual availability more valuable. In a world shouting for attention, silence is the most powerful statement. 5. The cognitive advantage of disconnection. Let's talk neuroscience. Your brain has two primary modes: task positive network, focused on external tasks, and default mode network, rest, reflection, meaning-making. The default mode network is where creativity happens, where insights emerge, where you process experiences into wisdom. Social media hijacks this system. It keeps you in constant task-positive mode, scrolling, clicking, reacting. Your brain never gets unstructured time to process, integrate, create. You're perpetually consuming input without generating output, always reacting, never reflecting. The Sigma who avoids social media has preserved his default mode network. His mind has space to wander, to synthesize. While others fill every moment with digital stimulation, his brain does what it evolved to do: make connections, generate insights, solve problems creatively. This creates a cognitive gap. The disconnected man simply thinks better, deeper thoughts, more original insights, more creative problem solving. Not because he's smarter, but because his brain has space to use its intelligence. Practical example: solving a complex work problem. The constantly online man immediately searches for solutions, consumes other people's thoughts. The disconnected man sits with the problem, walks with it, lets his mind work unconsciously. He often arrives at more innovative solutions because he's not just recombining others' ideas, he's generating his own. This is the cognitive advantage: original thinking. In a world consuming the same content, thinking the same thoughts, recycling the same ideas, the disconnected man can actually think independently. But it goes deeper. Social media destroys your attention span. The constant task switching trains your brain for distraction. Research shows it takes 23 minutes to regain full focus after a distraction. Consider how often you check social media. Every check is a cognitive reset. By day's end, you've never achieved deep focus. The disconnected man maintains attentional control. He can focus for extended periods, engage in deep work, think through complex problems without interruption. This gives enormous advantage in any field requiring sustained cognitive effort, basically every field producing significant value. While competitors are distracted by notifications, you're focused. While they think in tweet-length snippets, you develop comprehensive strategies. While they react to trends, you identify patterns they can't see. There's also a neurochemical dimension. Social media creates dopamine addiction through variable rewards, but chronic dopamine stimulation leads to receptor downregulation. You need more stimulation for the same reward. You become anhedonic, unable to find pleasure in simple things. The disconnected man has preserved his dopamine sensitivity. A good conversation is genuinely rewarding. A completed project provides real fulfillment. A quiet evening feels pleasurable, not boring. He hasn't trained his brain to need constant novelty. This translates to life satisfaction. Research consistently shows inverse correlation between social media use and happiness. The disconnected man maintains the neurochemical baseline that allows genuine contentment and memory. When you experience something while thinking about how to present it online, you're not fully encoding the memory. The disconnected man creates richer memories because he's fully present. He's not mediating reality through his phone. Those experiences become part of his wisdom, his depth, his character. Finally, disconnection preserves cognitive reserve. Your brain's resilience and adaptability. Social media is uniquely depleting, constant stimulation with minimal reward, junk food for your brain. The man who avoids it has more cognitive reserve for things that matter. He's not mentally exhausted by midday. He has energy for creative work, strategic thinking, genuine relationships, personal growth. This advantage compounds. The disconnected man gets sharper, while the connected man gets duller. Over years, they operate in completely different cognitive categories. 6. Digital detachment as a dominance strategy. Here's the most controversial truth. Social media absence is a dominance strategy. Not aggressive or manipulative, but in terms of social positioning, influence and power dynamics. The man who refuses to play isn't withdrawing from competition. He's competing at a higher level most can't perceive. Fundamental principle of power. Scarcity creates value. When you make yourself scarce, not constantly available, visible, accessible, you automatically increase your perceived value. This is basic economics applied to social capital. Social media created an economy of abundance. Everyone's constantly available. Everyone shares everything. Everyone's accessible. In this environment, individual attention has been devalued almost to zero. But when you're absent, you become rare, and rarity is valuable. Think about high-status individuals in any field. They're rarely on social media personally. Why? Because they understand that accessibility equals diminished value. The more available you are, the less people value access to you. The less visible you are, the more people want to see you. This isn't playing games, it's understanding human psychology. We value what we can't easily have. We're intrigued by what we don't fully understand. We pursue what seems to be withdrawing from us. The Sigma who never posts has created artificial scarcity around himself. Not artificially in a manipulative sense, genuinely, because his time and attention actually are scarce resources he's allocated elsewhere. But the effect is the same. He's more valuable because he's less available. Consider the power dynamics in relationships. The person who's always posting, always available, always responsive, has surrendered leverage. They've signaled, I have nothing better to do than be here for your consumption. The person who's absent has maintained leverage. They've signaled, I have priorities beyond your attention. This affects everything: professional relationships, romantic dynamics, social hierarchies. The man who's hard to reach is assumed to be important. The man who's always accessible is assumed to have low demand on his time. But here's the deeper strategy. While everyone else is broadcasting their every move, you're gathering intelligence. You can observe without being observed. You can understand the landscape without revealing your position. You're playing chess while they're playing checkers. Social media makes people predictable. They advertise their locations, activities, thoughts, plans, weaknesses. The silent man maintains operational security. He's not revealing his strategies. He's not making himself vulnerable to manipulation or exploitation. In business, this advantage is profound. Your competitors are busy posting about their victories, inadvertently revealing their strategies. You're learning from their mistakes without broadcasting your own. They're performing, you're executing. There's also the psychological phenomenon of social proof inversion. Normally, people use social proof to evaluate value. If lots of people like something, it must be good. But at the highest levels, this inverts. The most exclusive things have the least public validation because few have access. The Sigma who never posts signals that he operates at this inverted level. He doesn't need social proof because his value is self-evident to those who matter. This positions him above the validation game entirely. Finally, digital detachment is a demonstration of self-control, the ultimate marker of dominance. In a world where billions are addicted to their devices, where grown adults can't go an hour without checking notifications, the man who's completely detached demonstrates superior willpower. This isn't theoretical, people notice. They might not articulate it, but they register it. He doesn't need this. He's different. He's stronger. Dude, this is digital detachment as dominance. You're not playing the game everyone else is losing. You're not competing for validation they desperately seek. You're operating on a different level entirely, where your silence speaks louder than their noise, your absence commands more attention than their presence, and your detachment signals strength they can only pretend to have. While they're performing for an audience, you're building an empire. While they're seeking validation, you're creating value. While they're documenting their lives for others, you're living yours for yourself. And that's the ultimate power move. So there you have it, the complete psychological framework behind why certain men choose digital invisibility. This isn't about fear, inadequacy, or social dysfunction. It's about understanding a fundamental truth that most people will never grasp. In a world addicted to attention, the refusal to seek it becomes the ultimate form of power. The Sigma male who never posts isn't hiding from the world. He's operating on a completely different frequency. While others are performing for validation, he's building in silence. While they're documenting every minor achievement, he's creating major ones that speak for themselves. While they're curating a false image, he's living an authentic existence that needs no audience. This is the paradox that scares people. The man who cares least about being seen is often the one who's most worth watching. His absence creates curiosity. His silence commands more respect than others' endless noise. His mystery makes him memorable in ways that constant visibility never could. But understanding this psychology is just the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you continue playing the validation game, or will you step into the power of strategic invisibility? If this video resonated with you, if you see yourself in this analysis, then you need to subscribe to this channel right now, because we're just scratching the surface of Sigma male psychology. Every video on this channel is designed to help you understand your nature, embrace your path, and operate from a position of genuine power rather than performing for an audience that doesn't matter. The world needs men who understand this. Subscribe, and let's continue this journey together. The invisible man is watching, and he's more powerful than you ever imagined.